Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday. I don't think it's notified anybody I'm on yet. It's showing 0 people. So if you're part of the 0 people, I think YouTube finally let everybody know I'm on. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, guys. I hope you had a good week. Just a couple things before we get started. Massive Iron Live is here every Friday. It's the longest running lifting podcast Q&A in the history of the world, and that's my claim. I don't know anybody that's been doing this longer than me, so I'll just keep running with that claim. So before we get started, I think I said that already. Am I being redundant? Feel free to post up a question on anything, diet, training, off topic, within reason, of course. And if your questions don't go through, try shortening them or rephrasing them. Sometimes longer questions don't go through. And sometimes if you use naughty words, they don't go through. So if your question doesn't go through the filter, you can reword it, right? And if you are tuning in late and you have a question, you can head over to Instagram, @BenTheBarman. Slide into my DM. Now, before we get started with the questions, Black Friday is coming. I don't really overly worry about Black Friday. It's not a major event in my life, but I do run some Black Friday specials. I will be running the yearly coaching special. This year it is $8.99. So it went up a little bit over last year, but that's for a complete year of coaching. That's still an incredible savings, I believe, of over $250. If you're interested in getting in now with coaching before the chaos starts, I can offer you that deal. So don't hesitate to check out the coaching tab there. Also, Massive Omnibus. There are 4 books coming yet, and I've been working on them behind the scenes, trying to get them done. I'm trying to get the hardcovers available for Black Friday. So look for that as well. And we'll also have a couple new t-shirt designs for Black Friday for those of you that want some stocking stuffers. Anyway, how's everybody going? Hope you had a good week of training. I'm going to dive into things. And we got some good questions today. I want you to understand, if you're new here, don't hesitate to post up your question. Doesn't matter if it's been asked a million times before. I'm here to help. And yes, I got a new, I got to tell you, I got a new hoodie this week. It was on sale. My team is still Wisconsin. I live in Ohio. It was on sale. I feel kind of weird wearing it, but anyway, I can see we got a Mark Ripito question coming up. That's going to be a good one. And we got some questions on top 3 bicep movements. We got some good stuff. So hang tuned. Let's dive into things. Big old Martin, client of mine. Happy Friday. By the way, I have a Discord server team. If you want to join, you can just check out the link on yesterday's video in the description box. You can just click on that and come over and join. Or if you can't find that, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. DM me. I'd be glad to give you the link. Rico, how's it going, Rico? Rico is from Team Massive. Rico sent me some LMNT cans this week, and I've been tearing into those. Actually, the grapefruit electrolytes, much better than I expected. I thought it would taste a little bit, but it actually was pretty darn good. Going back to your, going way back to your 2-plate special, is there anything you would change? Now, I want to see if I can find this so we can reference it, because it's easier to reference things. I can't find the 2-plate special. Thought I'd be able to search it on the, let's see, earlier this year I called the, somebody mentioned on T Nation. Let me see if I can find it. Nah, I can't find it. A link on there. I can't find a link. If anybody has a link to the 2-plate special, there's so many. Here we go. The 2-plate special And I'm going to pull this up for you guys. All right, 1 second. Sorry about that. Present, share screen. All right. So this was way back when I was a writer at Muscle and Strength. The 2-plate special Wild 20 overview. The 2-plate special is basically, I believe, it's been a while since I looked at it, 135 on bench. Man, I have to look at it again, Rico. It's been so long since I actually looked at it. Is there anything I'd have to look at it, my friend? I would have to look at it. I've made literally hundreds of programs over the years, and sometimes I can't remember the specific nuts and bolts, so I apologize. If anybody has a link, post it up. Ernie, what's going on? Ernie Kleinemann, good morning. And Big Paul from Team Massive. Do you think different benefits of a neutral grip bench and a barbell? Do you think there are different benefits of a neutral grip bench and a barbell close grip? Yeah, I mean, just from the sake of variation, there's always going to be a little bit of benefit with variation. I mean, we don't want to overthink it, of course, but we want a reasonable variation of exercises. So if you like both, do both. I mean, the neutral grip, I find, is probably going to be a little bit better on the shoulders. Depending on the grip width you might feel the chest more, the triceps more. So no harm in trying a neutral grip, close grip bench press if you want to try it compared to like a barbell close grip. No harm at all in doing that. Just give it a try, see if you like it. And if you like it, keep it in the mix. All right, so we have a Mark Rippletoes question, and I say that facetiously, just with humor. No harm intended, no ill will intended. Says that everything except barbells and 5x5 is a waste of time. Is this true? Hell no, it's not true. It's not true at all. It's not true in the least. It is not, it couldn't be further from the truth. You don't know who to believe. Here's what you need to remember. The massive iron world is about looking at the history of lifting. Okay. We look at my pillars of success, my 10 pillars of success, analyze the commonalities between successful lifters. It's not magic rep schemes. It's not magic 5x5s, and it's not magic exercises. So absolutely not. This couldn't be further from the truth. If you don't know who to believe, believe me, because I'm not trying to push one way. I'm trying to open doors for you, okay? And show you that most any reasonable rep range or exercise selection works. And that is the truth. All you need to do is look at the history of lifting, everything from the last 70 years, really, to understand that everybody trains differently and it's not one specific method, okay? So there is a lot of value in dumbbell and machines. When you are a beginner or a novice, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound controversial, and I'm not trying to start a war, but novice programs that focus heavily on minimalism, like this type of program from Mark, that really focus on squats and deadlifts, they're not going to give you a lot of value. They're not. They're some of the worst programs you can run as a novice. And someone will say, it's a strength building program. That's fair. But it's a bad strength building program. Okay? When you are building a base, you need a quality selection of exercises. You don't just need to do barbells. You need to build up a base and build strength from head to toe. Okay? This isn't speculation. This isn't opinion. If you look at the research, the strongest lifters in any powerlifting weight class are almost to a man the biggest lifters. That tells us that we should, if strength is our primary focus, we should be focused on building muscle from head to toe in the off season. A base, okay? Does that make sense? Building a base, we should use a quality selection of exercises. To say only barbells is really falling into the cult of barbell world. It's really misguided, it's extremely dogmatic, and absolutely incorrect. Squats and deadlifts have a steep learning curve as far as form. Maybe you're one of the fortunate ones that can nail your form right away. That's good. I will tell you as a coach, I know the truth. And the truth is that learning squats and deadlifts for the average individual like yourself takes time. It is a process. So when you go into a novice strength program and you're doing squats and deadlifts, they're not going to give you a lot of value until you get form down. You're going to have lower back stress. You're going to have a long period learning curve when it comes to form. In the meantime, you're not building much muscle and you're not building much quality strength. Dumbbells have a lower point of entry from a neuromuscular adaptation, a neuromuscular standpoint. It's easier to jump on dumbbells, dumbbell bench, dumbbell rows. I'm not saying don't do bench. Obviously, I want you to do bench. But it's not this. I'm not coming after Ripoto, but I'm just being honest with you guys. It's one of the worst programs ever created. And people always come back, well, it's a strength program. It's a bad strength program. If you want to build strength, you need to build a base. And a base just doesn't arbitrarily use 5x5s and barbells, okay? And you can look at, again, the history of lifting from the last 70 years. If your squat and deadlift form is good, I still want you to use an exercise variety. It only makes sense. Why would we just restrict things to a barbell? What is the point? There's no science that says that's the best. It's simply one man's opinion that likes barbells, and that's fair. It doesn't matter how you train. But you do need to train with exercises you are getting something out of. And until you know for certain you're getting a lot out of squats and deadlifts, doing that as the meat and potatoes of your program is not a wise thing. It's one of the worst things you can do. You guys know I love squats and deadlifts, but it is one of the worst things you can do. You need to just spend some time looking at the massive iron pillars of success. Gain a bigger understanding of why it's much bigger than a specific program, much bigger than one or two exercises. Imagine going into the gym and you need to take some time learning your squats and deadlifts. And then you're supposed to do pull-ups and maybe you're a little bit overweight or you don't have really good leverages to begin with. And then you're trying to do all of these exercises and you're not getting a lot of value out of them. Just no, absolutely not. Couldn't be further from the truth. All right, what do we got here? I got a little bit of Mountain Dew today, no energy drink. I had one energy drink before starting. Martin, what are your thoughts on someone like me, lean and under-muscled, staying at a weight for an extra week? No. Your false belief is that staying at a weight is going to, for a week, is going to make really any impact. That's not inherently true. It's just something you've created in your mind. As long as the body's feeling good, no, we don't do that. You're going to be putting in progressive overload. It's going to take time. You have different layers, different exercises. For chest, you have different layers, different exercises. They're all progressing at different levels, okay? As long as everything feels good, we never want to deload, reload, unload, slow load, whatever, via made-up things, right? We have to respond to what is happening in the gym. In no way, shape, or form would I ever say this is a good idea unless you have a minor strain or pain, because the assumption is that just by taking an extra week off or slowing down progression, that somehow it's going to enable the joints or tendons to strengthen more than they're already strengthened. When you beat your body down, it's going to recover, okay? It's going to have a recovery process. And the belief here is that if you use the same weight, that somehow this extra recovery time is going to allow it to strengthen. No, we don't do that. We don't play that game. We play the game we know to be true, if that makes sense. You don't adapt to loads, Martin. I mentioned this the other day in my video on YouTube, right? You can gain more confidence, but what I mentioned the other day is it always gets harder moving forward. You don't really adapt. You adapt if you get your squat to 600, then 300 will feel lighter. Saw someone talk about this and it kind of made sense. No. We're not slowing down anything based on arbitrary fantasy belief that slowing it down is going to cause more tendon strength over time. Just the natural process is fine. There's nothing broken with the natural process. Things strengthen normally. It's not going to somehow decrease strains and stress and magically increase tendon strength. It's a nonsense concept, right? If somebody created this in their head and they believed it. They're solving a problem when the problem doesn't exist, right? Each individual, each of you is going to go into the gym and you're going to train. And we have to adapt to what is going on in the gym based on real world data, okay? I don't like the feel of this. I don't like the feel of pec deck. Can I do cable crossovers? I don't feel recovered from bench press after 3 days on a frequency program. Maybe I ought to change my split. We have to change things based on what is happening in the gym. People like this, these individuals, and I don't mean this, I'm not trying to down talk these individuals, but they're creating solutions for problems that don't exist. Over time, over 5 to 10 years, your tendons and ligaments and connective tissue are going to strengthen. If you did this, if you took every other week as a holding pattern, you're not going to get a lot of value. Let me explain this a little bit more deeply. This is naturally how it occurs once you reach the early intermediate stage anyway, okay? As a beginner, what do we have? We have beginner gains. You're going to rapidly increase in most of our lifts. That's beginner gains territory. In the massive iron world, we do that safely. We push for maximum safe quality reps. Generally, during that beginner stage, that first year stage, you're not going to pick up a lot of punishment because the weight is relatively light. So it's relatively safe. Does that make sense? When you get to the early intermediate stage, that's when things naturally start to slow down. When adding a rep every 3 or 4 weeks on the bench press is normal. So you're doing this anyway, right? As an early intermediate, other than your beginner gains period, you're doing this inherently. You don't need to overslow that, because let's say you get your bench to 160 and you're an early beginner or an early intermediate. Adding 60 pounds to your bench during the next year would be a good thing. And then 60 after that. And before you know it, you're benching around 280 after 3 years of lifting. So we can establish that would be pretty good progress, right? 60 pounds to your bench press over the course of the year is adding 1 rep per month to your top set. 1 rep, each rep you add to your top set adds about 5, sometimes 6 pounds to your 1 rep max. So starting in the early intermediate stage, and this is just a generic example, but it rings fairly true. You're going to add 1 rep to your bench once a month. That would be good progress. Now we're going to slow this to allow the body to adapt. The body's already slowly adding reps in this stage. Does that make sense? So the person that created this structure doesn't really understand that fully. Does that make sense? When you are a beginner, and you, like you, Martin, and you're rocketing up every week, +1, +1, +1. I have clients like Harut, clients that are just nailing +1s every week, even though they're late intermediates. When you are nailing progress and the body is feeling good, the worst thing you can do is make up ghosts in the room. Things you're spooked of, scared of, afraid of, that don't exist. Problems that don't exist. This is a toxic part, a toxic aspect of the fitness community. Making up solutions for problems that don't exist. Putting ghosts in the room when they aren't really there. So beginners are going to make rapid progress. And generally, the point where things dramatically slow down, that's when we have to really listen to our body and take care of our body. You never slow a car that's speeding down the highway. You never slow progress when it's running full speed, full cylinder. Does that make sense? You never create a problem when things are running smoothly. Something bad might happen. It's not even something bad might happen. It's something very minor might happen. You might pick up a strain. You can't stop the strain train. You can't. No matter what, you're going to be pushing hard. You're more likely to pick up a lot of strains as an intermediate once your tendons and connective tissue are already strong. It's just part of the process. Is this making sense to you guys? So the person that created this doesn't understand really fully that as a beginner, you're going to make rapid progress and the risk isn't really that great. You're going to see risks like on the lower back from overworking posterior stuff, etc. As an early intermediate, progress is going to be slow anyway. So we're going to slow that even more? Okay, you are an early intermediate. I'm not saying you, Martin, but anybody. And you're going to adhere to what this guy says. Let's say you're benching 160 and you feel weak and you want to bench some damn big weight. But you're worried about the ghost put in the room, which is, are my tendons and connective tissue strong enough? Should I just add in extra rest just to allow them to strengthen more? Okay, let's do that every other week. Let's do that. We're only going to push every other week. We're going to follow this. Is it going to allow you to get stronger, faster? No. Because every other week you're not pushing because you're allowing the connective tissue to strengthen. And I'm not saying that, I'm not mocking it. I'm just telling you what we're doing. So strength slows down and all of a sudden, instead of getting a 1 rep movement, an additional 1 rep every 4 weeks, you now get it every 8 weeks, every 2 months. So now you're adding 30 pounds to your bench press in the next year instead of 60. So these two lifters, one that's lifting hard every week and one that's lifting hard every other week to allow the connective tissue to strengthen, he's going to be 30 pounds stronger on the bench than the guy that's being conservative because he didn't have any problems and he listened to his body and he progressed. He's moving more weight, which inherently strengthens the tendons and connective tissue. He's had more cumulative stress on average than the conservative guy because he's moving more volume per exercise. And as long as there's not a problem, it's more intense, and he's going to build more tendon and connective strength. Does that make sense? When you think about overall cumulative volume from an exercise, think of it as like a pressure being applied to your head, right? Like a downward force being applied on the body, like gravity, which is basically the opposite. It's a downward force being applied on the body. The greater the volume, which is weight times sets times reps, the more downward force. So the body's going to push back against that force. We're speaking in general terms, but I hope this makes sense. So if you want the body to strengthen, the muscles and the tendons and the connective tissue, the more average force being applied to the body, downward, whatever direction, the more it is forced to adapt and push back and strengthen as self-preservation. That's basically one of the main tenets of muscle building, progressive overload. Your body might get used to that force, and now it has no further reason to strengthen. If you want your tendons and your connective tissue to strengthen, you need to continue to progressively overload. As long as you are in a safe lane, there's no reason to slow it. Why would you? Because all you're doing is slowing down the average pressure placed, the average stress placed upon the body. And over time, you're slowing down progression more than you need to, fighting fires that aren't really fires. We have to fight real battles, not make-believe battles. I will tell you, one of the biggest cancers in this industry and one of the biggest reasons why people don't see gains is because they start fighting battles that aren't there. They start overthinking. I'm going to deload, reload, unload until the weight gets light. Then I'm going to, every other week, if I do this, then my tendons are going to get stronger. And it's all theoretical fuckery. Okay, it is. It's all bullshit. We're trying to be reasonable, right? And we're not just being reckless. So the assumption is if you take an extra week, you're going to somehow adapt to the load and it's going to make things stronger. Well, let's say you're doing 160 for 3 sets of 8 on bench. Okay, that's what you did today. Next, so you got 160 for 888. Next week, you have 2 options: 160 for 888 or 160 for 889. The difference is so trivial. But if you're able to hit that 9 the next week, it's not because of what you did this week. It's because of what you did this week. You went in and did 160 for 888, and it made you stronger. It tore you down, and you built back up stronger. So this week, you can do 889. You're already strong. So what you do this week is a function of what occurred last week, right? So if we stop that process, all we're doing is slowing the strengthening process based on the belief that it is going to make our tendons and connective tissue stronger. I hope this is making sense. You don't get used to a weight. Things get harder over time. We adapt to what is really happening in the gym and not the ghosts we put in the room. Tendons take longer to strengthen than the muscle themselves. It depends on you gotta understand the demands of every exercise are different. There's really no issue I've ever seen with anybody getting. The only issue you see when the muscle is getting much stronger than the tendons, where it's an issue, is when somebody is taking high levels of steroids when their muscular strength is outshining their tendon strength. Everybody's going to get a few niggles. It's how it works. You can't avoid it. No matter what kind of magic solution you come up with. You cannot avoid it. You can't. It's part of the process. You can't do something physical over a long period of time and not pick up niggles and minor strains. You can't. That's why we train smart and hard and adapt to what is actually happening. If you're pushing, it doesn't matter, Martin. If you're pushing 160 for 3 sets of 8 for 9 next week or in 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Hear me out. You're at, let's say somebody's at 160 for 3 sets of 8. You can wait 5 weeks if you want, 6 weeks before you try to push for that last set for 9. Okay? But when you push, it is the act of pushing harder, taking it deep. Those sets where we take things deep, those are the dangerous sets. And by dangerous, I don't mean incredibly dangerous. Those are the stressful sets when things can go wrong in the gym. Minor strains, minor pains. There's more of an issue with my diet being inconsistent. I don't have the same amount of glycogen. Maybe I'm under recovered from my volume. Maybe a minor muscle group is under recovered compared to a major muscle group. The body is so complex that it is in our best interest to adapt to what is happening rather than thinking we can weed out all strains and pains. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen. If you want to get to the land of glory, which is a lot of muscle, you're going to have some. I've only had one major injury in my lifting career, and I beat the living shit out of my body. But I do so wisely, and I'm not magic. You know, I'm not some magic lifter gifted with magic genetics. Training smart is going to be the real magic. All of my clients that I work with, we adjust as to what's going on. A little bit of minor strain here. Okay, let's deload this week. That's given whatever. We work that in because it's required, not because we're putting imaginary things in the road in front of us. With better rep quality instead of always increasing. No, you can't better rep quality yourself to infinity. We don't increase the weight just because, Martin. We're not increasing the weight arbitrarily. There's no just because. You have to progressively overload. We don't just say, ha, 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 let's just add weight just because it sounds like a good idea. No, we progressively overload because of what I just talked about, the pressure we're putting on the body. We need goals. We need to be pushing. The opposite, when people don't push and they don't add weight just because I feel, right? I do not care about your feelings, and neither does muscle building. I'm going to wait till I feel like adding weight just because. Arbitrary. No. I'm telling you guys, not Martin, I'm telling everybody, if this is what you do, you're going to have the results that show it, which is shit. We don't do reckless stuff in the massive iron world. We're against that. We're for training longevity, but we also do not create ghosts that we're trying to swerve around and avoid. We don't add weight just because. We add it because it is what we need to do. If you're not adding weight, you're not training hard. I've spoken this so many times on this channel. Adding reps is a function of hard training. You can't avoid hard training. If you do, you're not going to add reps. We're not chasing strength. We're chasing hard, safe training. And the fruit of hard, safe training is a repetition. It's not just because. It's the life of what we're doing. It is the lifeblood of what we're doing. It's not just because. You add weight because you trained hard and earned it. and it's the next step in progressive overload. Andy, how's it going, Andy? From Team Massive, thanks for tuning in. Big Jonathan, when you want to gain 10 pounds over the next 6 months, do you include the initial spike? If you're going to move to a calorie surplus, let's say you've been on maintenance or even a calorie deficit, you want to take a good 5 days at about where you think maintenance is, about weighing every day just to see what the scale is doing and waiting for the scale to level off. Then from there, we start to make micro adjustments. So if you are moving into a bulk from maintenance or from a deficit, we want to give it about 5 days and then just make a micro adjustment. We don't want to be hyper reactionary. From there, we want to make small little adjustments until we see and refinements until we see that curve moving exactly where we want it to go. Does that make sense? It's not like there's a formula. Do this for 5 days at this calorie if this calorie is X and all this kind of stuff. No, it's like refinement. You're going to hop on a change in calories up or down, and if your weight's going to do this, whether you're going up or down, going into a cut or a bulk, and then from there we try to just refine it until it's more smooth sailing. Does that make sense? Big Stein, how's it going, Stein? 15 to 20 for isolation. Yeah, you can use that. One thing I want to stress is whenever we're talking rep ranges, we always have to lay that on the foundation that the demands of every exercise are different. Every exercise is going to feel different. So we don't create rules like I'm going to wake up today and do 15 to 20 reps for every isolation. Instead, we can use that as a starting point. That's reasonable. But when you get into the gym, the problem with making rules is you feel compelled to stick to the rules, even if they don't really work well for that exercise. Does that make sense? So that's okay to have a starting point, but allow yourself the freedom to adjust. All right, let me get a drink here before we get into Big Sam's question. All right. Generally, you're in the middle of how much volume to perform. However, I see a lot of advanced French lifters performing 20 sets per week. Yeah, I don't know anything about this guy. Everything we do is based off pragmatism. How much time do we have to dedicate to training? Is our body being beat up? Everything we do is based off real world feedback. We can't look at one or two guys and say they're doing 20 sets for a body part. Is that overkill? I could do 20 sets for a body part if I adjusted my programming. These guys that are experienced lifters, advanced lifters, have a lot of work capacity. If I had a lot of time, I could do 20 sets for major body part. Do I need to? No. You guys do not need to do that. His training is very specific and it's structured in a way. His name keeps messing me up. Hersov. Hold on, let me find this guy. Hersov. You guys can't be looking at one guy and trying to, deconstruct. I don't know. He looks like he is a little bit whatever. I don't want to talk about that. We can't be looking at one lifter, right? If you want to do 20 sets for every major body part, for the major areas of focus, chest, back, delts, and quads, that's 80. Then we're going to have to work in about 36 for biceps, triceps, and hams. So you're up to, like 116 sets. And then if you want to do any abs, calves, or whatever, you're probably up to about 120 to 130 sets a week. So let's just look at this pragmatically. Let's say 120, 130. 18 hard sets is going to take you about 75 minutes, upwards of 90 minutes if you're really strong. So 5 training days at 18 sets is going to be 5 training days of about 75 minutes to 90 minutes. That's 90 hard sets a week. Okay, he's 30 sets above that. You're looking at 6 sessions of at least 2 hours a week. Could I do that? Yeah, if I wanted to. Do you need to do that? No, you don't need to do that. Sam, you've been following me for a long time, and I'm going to call you out and I'm going to challenge you. You know better than this. With that, however, it's like a slap in the face saying, "But I doubt." You are in the middle. However, I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this a long time, Sam. Most advanced lifters I know aren't doing 20 sets for major body part per week. Okay, I'm just going to come back with that. Could I do it? We can do anything if we adjust the volume, intensity, or frequency. Do you need to? No. Do you have the time? Probably not. Is it, as an advanced lifter, does it have the capacity to beat the living crap out of your body and encourage overuse injuries? Absolutely. Big Jeremy, when will your complete omnibus be available in hardcover? I'm hoping by Black Friday. There is a lot of work involved in taking like a completed PDF and turning it into a book. Because you got to make sure all the structure is in place and all the things and the stuff. That's the goal. Big Bob Miller, good morning. Team Massive. Florida bound this morning. Safe travels, my friend. There's no better road trip vibe than cranking up Massive Iron Live. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you guys know anytime I get fired up, I'm doing so with love. I'm doing so because I'm passionate about this stuff and I want to see you guys not waste time. Shelly, client of mine. Shelly, good morning. Joe B, a client of mine. Good morning. Big Jimmy Cooksworth. Easing back into normal training after a lower back injury. Are there any exercises that I can do to get stimulus? An RDL is really a focus on the hamstrings. So the best thing you can do that doesn't involve a lot of lower back stress is going to be the leg curl. After that, you could do the glute ham raise, which is going to have some lower back stress. So those are your big 2 choices. The traditional deadlift is going to place a lot of stress on your lower back, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. You could do it light. High-handled hex bars are a great choice when you're coming back from a lower back injury. So just keep those in mind if you are able to do them. All right, we're about 45 minutes in, guys. I'll keep answering questions as long as you have them. Last week we went about 2 hours. Hey, good to see you, Varun. Longest lasting fitness podcast, science-based. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Some people think I'm a lunatic. All that common sense. Joe B, influencer mentioned a year-long bulk. Can you elaborate your thoughts? The downside is you need to be reasonably dialed in for a year, or else you're going to turn into Mr. Fatty Fats. Seriously, because in many ways, a bulk requires you to be more consistent. Sure, you can have a little bit higher days now and then. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying you can't. But it's really easy to push that. I'm going to bulk. I'm going to eat. I'm going to bulk. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have a drink. You have to really stay within your lane on a long bulk, or else you're going to get fat. You're going to have a long road to lose the weight. So if you're going to do a year-long bulk, you have to be in a position to gain at least 25 pounds. Generally, 25 to 30 is a sweet spot. That's about 2 and some change a month. Any lower than that, and you're kind of walking the fine line and you're not really encouraging yourself to get as much out of it as you can. That sounds like a lot of weight, but you start at 170, 180, you're not really getting crazy. But the thing is, no matter how far you bulk, you need to have the capability of walking that back with a cut. If you can't nail a cut, you shouldn't be bulking. You need to figure out how to nail a cut before you can bulk. If you can't nail a 10-pound cut, you shouldn't be doing a 10-pound bulk. If you can't nail a 25-pound cut, you shouldn't be doing a 25-pound bulk. So that's the downside. The upside, food, right? Recovery, better recovery, a long period of time where you're focused. Who doesn't like that? Big Lee. It's been a rotten week. Sorry to hear that. I'm still chipping away. Given the big talk lately on toxic gym culture, what do you believe are the worst examples you've seen of toxic gym culture? You know, I don't know. I've been around this game for so long. It's like, where do you even begin? I try to stay positive, man. I mean, I'm 57. I'm in the last act of my life. I want to maximize it. I want to help you guys. For me, the biggest toxic thing is wasting time. Whether you waste your own time accidentally or whether you waste your own time by putting challenges in your own path. To me, wasting time is the biggest source of toxicity. You see this a lot in the influencer world. Thanks, Chris. Chris had a purple monster for me. You see this a lot in the influencer world where we're closing doors. You can't do this exercise because it's dangerous. Bench press is not the most effective exercise for chest. You shouldn't do it. Oh, really? I've been getting soreness on my chest for bench press for 39 years, right? Toxic gym culture closes doors instead of opening doors to possibilities. It remains reasonable. It remains rational. It remains sane, not reactionary. We're not reacting to one study when we have the whole past 70 years to react to gain a bigger picture. We're not dropping one lift that's been super effective for lifters during the last 70 years. This is the biggest source of toxicity that we face. You can't do this split. You can't do this exercise. You must do it this way. You need a little pinky, tweaky, nipple, twirly, whirly to get the most out of your side lateral reaches. Right? Like, fuck off. Are you mentally done, dude? I mean, these influencers can just take up something else for the love of all things holy. That's the toxic. People that close doors that shouldn't be closed to reasonable things that make you panic. Oh my goodness. I can never do a body part split because I couldn't possibly make progress. And I have to do his exercises. And then you have Rippito says barbells are the only way. And then you have the other crowd that says don't do barbells because, and then it's just, that's toxic culture. Time wasting horse shit. We're smarter than that. Let's be smarter than that. Let's not be reactionary. Let's take a step back and a deep breath. The next time some knucklehead tells you not to bench press, take a deep breath. Number one, do you like the bench? Yeah. Number two, does it make your chest sore? Yeah. Number three, do we have a reasonable selection of exercises for our chest? Yes. Number four, if we remove said exercise, what's left? I don't know. Let's remove all the pressing from our chest. And all of a sudden, we don't have any dumbbell presses and we don't have any barbell presses. Heck, let's just move the machine chest press because it's the same movement pattern and perhaps a push-up. And we're left with a little bit of pec deck. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit silly, but I hope you guys follow. Time-wasting idiots. Crawling out of every corner. Half these guys don't train people in the real world anyway. Just making up stuff for this box. They're not a coach. To coach, you have to actually coach, and you would understand. Big Logan. Steve's top 3 Bicepticons and Tricepticon movements for juicy arms. I'll give you mine. And they've changed over the years. I like seated tricep press downs because I can load up some big, juicy weight and do a lot of reps, and it's brutal. I like doing 15, 20 rep sets on those with just a ton of weight. It's kind of like the tricep equivalent of doing a heavy, heavy, heavy dumbbell row for 20 reps. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's my current favorite. I love the JM press. I love the close grip bench or the incline close grip bench. I love the cable tricep extension. Those are my big juicies. Biceps, these days I'm digging seated incline curls. I am digging massive curls, which we do 8 strict reps. And then we do 4 cheat curls. And then we can move to 4 drag curls. Just brutal. Post-fatigue, post-failure, fun. That'd be number 2. So we have a dumbbell and a barbell exercise in the mix. And I don't really have a third. Those are my big ones. You know, from there, you can really add in whatever feels good for you. Big Joe B. Can 3 pounds a month max bulk be of any value for someone that you can go upwards of 3 pounds a month. If you're going to do a long bulk, I probably wouldn't. Because let's say you're going to do a 10 or 12 month bulk. 3 is going to be 30 to 35 pounds. You're getting a little bit on the high end. So I don't think I'd go above 2.5 pounds if you're doing an extended bulk. Big Lee, me personally, I was once asked to off a man's ex-girlfriend in a knife brawl in the gym. The gym owner telling me the flat earth. I've seen so many things, man. Where do you even begin? I was in a gym. I can't name names. The gym started with an animal where there was a guy in there that was a huge salesperson with a duffel bag of supplements, right? Dude was a whack nut like a creep. Never bothered me. He went to a powerlifting gym, I believe. I'm not going to name the name. This is a news story. You can find it. I don't want to dig up names on here. Above Ohio. Let's just put it that way. So like $10,000 worth of fake steroids to this powerlifting gym. They came after this guy. He was a bench press specialist. They cut off his arm. There's some things about this world people wouldn't even believe that story. It's absolutely true. Despite the bad week, still did a 100-kilogram front squat for a double. Good, man. I'm glad to hear it. Just shake it off and focus on what you can control. Big Jason. If you have a body part way more defined than others, would you hold off that part minus chest? That's a huge blessing. I mean, you don't have to, if you're satisfied with mass in one area, you don't need to overtrain it, but you do need to, make sure you hold steady. One of the problems, though, if you hold steady on the chest, you're not going to generally be taxing your triceps as hard. So you're going to have to adjust. Does that make sense? Big Jason. I'm a painter, so my chest gets worked every day. Just understand that's not resistance training. That's like conditioning or over fatigue. That's not building muscle. I'm just saying that respectfully. Outside of double or dynamic progression and form cleanups, any other good ways to progressively overload? If your bench is stalled for 2 months, I'd like to see your numbers just as a general check. I'd like to see your exercise variety. The main thing is if you're a pretty strong bencher, adding a rep every 2 months would be pretty reasonable. If you're a weak bencher, there's something else wrong. And I don't know you, Sam, so I'm not assuming what is wrong. But either it's inconsistent calories, not enough weight gain, not enough effort, not enough exercise variety, not enough triceps work, not enough focus on shoulders. There's so many variables that could be at play here. My current split is as follows: push, pull, arms, legs, upper. Do you think this is efficient? It's efficient if you like it. Is it effective? Yes. Can it be effective? Any reasonable split can be efficient and effective depending on how you structure it. It could also be nasty and awful depending on how you structure it. So, is it reasonable? Yeah, it's reasonable. Push and upper are going to be basically the same thing. So you do have to make sure you get a rest day after upper. You do have to monitor your upper and push. Again, they're the same basic workouts. Upper might have some pull, but it's going to have some push, and you just have to make sure you rest. Does that make sense? 6-day split recommendations. I like to do flexible schedules. So you can do upper posterior junk, and rotate between those 5 workouts 6 days a week. You can do torso limbs, junk, and rotate between those 6 days a week if you like frequency. You can do PPAL, push, pull, arms, legs, rest, push, pull, arms, legs. You can rotate between that. If you want a body part split, you can do chest day, back day without deadlifts, leg day, shoulder day, and then deadlift and hamstring day, and then junk day, arm day. Have you tried Titan Fitness's lever squat? Got it right there, my friend, right there. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment. Some people hate on Titan Fitness because it's lower end, but I'll tell you what works for me. It'll last longer than I will. I'll probably be standing here when I'm taking a dirt nap. I love leverage squats to begin with. I will say this, and I've said it before. I believe every gym would be better off having a leverage squat first and then a leg press second. That's how much I am a fan of it. I'm not saying the leg press is awful by any means. I'm just saying I like the leverage squat that much. You can get deeper. It doesn't put stress on your lower back. It's just a wonderful thing for quad development. Will an Arnold split lead to more arm growth? No. There are no magic programs. There are no magic programs. You always have to look at average weekly volume per body part, and then you can slice it and dice it however you want in any program. There are no magic programs. Big Josh Megaroids, man, good to have you here. Good to see you. All right, what do we got here? Good morning, Team Massive. Went to the gym today without knowing that I didn't bring lifting straps. Sorry, man, it happens on days like that. I do those things. I do days like that too. I have days like that. Just kind of dial things down, maybe do a little bit more volume. Just be safe. Big Johnny Miles. I do not like squatting on Smith machines. What am I doing wrong? Nothing. If you don't like it, don't do it. There are some leg presses I don't like to do because they beat up my lower back. I can't get under a Smith machine for a squat because I can't get my girthy, meaty arms back far enough. It's not like a mobility issue. I don't go that way anymore because I'm too big. Nothing. There's no magic exercise. Just blow it off, my friend. Focus on a good quality selection of exercises that you do like. You'll be fine. Would you argue or agree, would you agree that dumbbell bicep curls, hammer curls, barbell curls are all that are necessary to build? Yeah, I would. Not just that, but we're doing tons of grip work. Everything you're doing in the gym is grip, even leg press, gripping, back work, gripping, chest work, gripping. I would argue, from my experience, from seeing very experienced lifters, that you do not need to do direct forearm work. That doesn't mean you can't do it. Do a little wrist roller work or wrist curls, you could. But I have never directly worked my forearms. They are huge. And that's just a byproduct of time. Your neck's going to get bigger over time. Your forearms are going to get bigger over time. In a almost equal relationship or aspect or level, whatever you want to call it, to the growth of the rest of your body. Let me get a drink. I experimented with starting my workout today with squats instead of starting with RDLs. Good. That's good to hear. That's part of the magic of evolving training based on needs, which is a pillar of success in the massive iron world. You ask yourself, is this kind of a reasonable change? Yeah. It's not crazy. It's not insane. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. If you like it, good. Nothing wrong with it. Big Austin. Are some people anatomically better built to pull conventional? Absolutely. Or will all people pull more with sumo, semi-sumo? I pull better conventionally by far. And I've put a lot of time into sumo. I put a lot of time in my sumo. I can't get it more than 75 pounds, more like 60. My conventional is always at least 60 pounds heavier. You can try to boil it down to this or that, or arm lengths, or leverages, or torso length, or leg length, and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is, at the end of the day, it's very complex. So I don't like to create formulas and generic rules. But yes, absolutely. Some people are better built to pull conventional. I have a lot of quad strength. I have a lot of back strength, and I function more like an ape. Sumo can be a little bit more finesse. It doesn't mean they don't have quad strength and back strength, but for me, it just feels better. If you had to guess, who benches more, electricians or plumbers? I'm going to go with the plumber. Electricians, I don't know.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
I'm really functionally an idiot. I set that thing up when I moved in here almost exactly a year ago, and I never connected it. And every day it does that and annoys me. I don't know. Electricians are more finesse and plumbers are more brute force. I don't know. I would say plumbers. Who would you guys say? Harut, Kleinemann, would you say finisher's pump work on a cut is not necessarily, as long as you're safe. I wouldn't say it's counterproductive. Anytime you have a little bit of extra energy and you want to do something like that, even on a cut, you can just be safe and smart. Big Mark, how's it going, Mark? Happy Friday. Good to hear from you. Sam, there have been a lot of videos circulating around upping your protein intake. Don't believe the hype, guys. The body's not that fragile or magical. I'm not beating the drum for a low protein intake. I want you guys to have a balanced diet. But at the end of the day, 150 grams for men should be your red line. If you're below that, you're probably a carby Barbie, right? You're probably eating way too many carbotrons. And protein is good because animal-based foods, because it's very nutrient dense. So we want to focus on that more than anything. 170 to 200 grams a day is a reasonable range for what we do. 150 is kind of the red line. Anybody that's beating the drum, like, you have to eat more. I think I know of at least 3 to 4 lifters, some of them that run major YouTube channels that you guys watch. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to misquote them, but I think they eat right around where I do. I've been between 150 and 180 my entire lifting life. You'll be fine in the long run. Joseph, how important is weight loss to cardio versus weight training? The biggest factor for weight loss is going to be calorie deficit. Weight training will add some degree of strength to your metabolism. If you go by the book, it's going to say it's not very much, but it is there. I would say, though, that it adds a little bit more than what I think the science guys or the research says it does. In my experience, from looking at client results and client metabolism, and guys that it could be from their healthier habits, it could be from their more focus on lean proteins, who knows? Calorie deficit is number one. Weight training in and of itself does burn some calories, but not as much as generally 10 or 20 minutes of cardio. So cardio tends to be more dense from a caloric burn standpoint, but neither of these are going to be more than 10% of your weight loss. Meaning you don't need to overdo them. You don't want to use weight training as a tool to lose weight in the short run. That's misguided. Cardio, you should be, if you're looking to lose weight, you should be doing at least 7,000 steps a day, preferably 10, and getting in at least an hour of additional cardio a week. And this can be anything: bowling, swimming, I don't care, just on your feet doing something other than steps. Harut, what do you think about positioning the bench at the max when doing dumbbell shoulder press versus one click down? This gets misunderstood by a lot of people, so let's comb through this. Some people think when the bench is completely upright, you're going to maximize your side delt stimulation, which is incorrect. And some people think because you're standing upright, and when you do standing, because you're upright and they envision it like this, they're going to maximize your side delt stimulation. Not true. Let me explain. When you are pressing, whether it's seated or standing, you want to have your wrists above your elbows, not over your elbows. Okay. So I'm doing a standing press. I want my wrists above my elbows or behind a little bit when I'm pushing up. If my wrists are forward, that's going to push my weight forward and it's going to cause weird shoulder stress. People panic about putting the seat back on a seated press. Here's a standing press. My wrists are forward of my elbows. So what do I have to do to get my wrists over my elbows so I can actually have good leverage and not jack up my lower back? I lean back a little bit. That's what we invariably do. We're creating a slight incline, a natural slight incline, so we can press it above. Okay, we get it down here. Press it. We lean back to keep our wrists above our elbows. In a seated press, that's basically what we're doing. If we go upright, the wrists are going to be forward of the elbows, and we can't lean back. The only thing we could do is scoot our butt forward, and that is de facto creating an incline. So you want to lean your seat back about 70 or 80 degrees, whatever allows you to keep your wrists above your elbows. I like 70 degrees. I feel that is a really good sweet spot. Good for leverage, good for shoulder health, and trust me, you're going to beat the living snot out of your side delts. If you want to do a BTN press, you can get as upright as you want. I prefer like an 80-degree iron rack. I'm like here, just slightly back. A BTN press, your wrists are going to stay above your elbows because the weight is behind your head. Does that make sense? When doing dumbbells, you don't want to be forward because that stress of trying to prevent the dumbbell from moving forward is going to place a lot of weird stresses, some weird torsional stress on the shoulders. So you want to be really careful about that. Don't worry about the angle. Worry about the feel and that it feels natural to you. But generally 70 degrees is a little bit better. My pushing exercise strength has been stuck with the same reps for 3 weeks. That's not a plateau. That's normal. That's not a plateau. That's normal. But I'm saying this because I care. It's not a plateau. You add 1 rep to a push, bench, or overhead, 1 rep to your top set a month. That's adding 5 to 6 pounds on your 1 rep max. You do that every month, every 4 weeks, you're adding 60 pounds to your press in a year. This is not a plateau. This is normal training, and I can't stress that enough. This is the way it goes once you get beyond beginner levels. Regarding your comment about dips and bench over, every exercise is going to have its own progression curve, so to speak. Does that make sense? So I want you to put your focus on hard training, and I want you to put your focus on a meticulously crafted bulk where you're gaining about 2.25 to 2.5 pounds a month. And be patient. If you gain 1 rep on your press, your push, every 4 weeks, you're going to gain 65 pounds on that lift over the course of a year and 130 over the course of 2 years. That can take a 180-pound bench press to 300, okay? 310. That's normal progress once you get past beginner. So I want you guys to toss out the whole plateau thing. You don't have a plateau. You have poor expectations. You have unreasonable expectations. I certainly want you to get in there and crush it. And I certainly would like for you to add a rep every 2 to 3 weeks. But that's not a plateau, my friend. That's normal training. Andy, can you rotate between a landmine V-bar row and a Yates row? Yeah, absolutely. Rotate dip machine with close. Yep, absolutely. You can do A-B variations every other week. The only thing I don't want you to do is get 3 weeks away from a major lift. A-B variations are perfectly fine. Are they required? No. Do you need to do them? No. Can they work in a little bit of exercise variety? which is good for mental stimulation, and it can be slightly beneficial for hypertrophy because every exercise hits the body a little bit differently, so there's no real downside in doing so. Big Sam. If you only had 3 days a week to train, I would use an upper posterior where you cycle back and forth 3 days a week. I would use a torso limbs where you cycle back and forth 3 days a week. You could also do upper posterior full body, which is a good choice. So you can work on upper, you can work on posterior, and then you can do a full body with some maybe your lighter stuff. Those are all really good choices. Rico, the 31-day massive Advent workout challenge. That's actually a brilliant idea. Rico, if you would message me that on Team Massive so I don't forget it. I'm going to put that on Team Massive, and I'm going to let you guys create suggestions for what each days will be. And we can do that as a community. That would be a heck of a lot of fun. Chris had a purple monster for me. I had one pinky winky. I'm a little bit behind the curve. Yesterday we went to Speedway and they had monsters 4 for $8, right? So my wife's like, why don't you get 4? That way you'll have some for tomorrow. Well, I ended up working till 10 o'clock last night, so I accidentally had 3 big monsters yesterday. I only had 1 left for today. Big Billy Baker. Listening to Big Hairy Ugly Dude while watching the Strong Man. Cool, man. That's excellent. That sounds like a good Friday. I hope you all just kick ass this weekend and keep the training rolling. Let me get a drink. How would you program upper body finishers pump work for bicepticons, tricepticons, shoulders, and chest after an upper body workout that's also time efficient? So what I would do, Tristan, is I would do a finisher on the last set of each movement instead of trying to do finishers at the end of a movement, because that's where it can get time consuming. So bench press, you're done. You could rest 15 seconds and then grab like 50-pound dumbbells, do them for 20, and then maybe rest half a minute and do another 20 rep set of dumbbells, right? So you could do that post-fatigue after bench. Or if the equipment was free, you could run over and nail pec deck, for like a 2-minute block. There's so many ways you could do it. After you're done with lat pull downs, you could run the stack down. You could rest 15, 20 seconds, lower the weight a notch, do as many quality reps as you can, rest 15 to 20 seconds, lower the weight a notch. With shoulders, maybe you're done with overhead presses. You could do side lateral raises to failure, and then maybe partial side lateral raises to failure. On dumbbell stuff, you could do run the rack. You could do run the stack. Same with triceps, cable tricep extensions. You could run the rack, run the stack. I would do those on the last set of an exercise, to be honest with you. Does that make sense? Big Joe B. So 3 pounds a month for 12. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that doesn't take you too far away from home. Anytime you're eating a little bit more, it's always going to be a better scenario for strength. Some people don't like to hear that, strength and muscle. Like, it's not going to push you. It's really, really magic for strength. It's going to be slightly more beneficial for muscle, but we have to temper that with the more aggressive you get on a bulk, the more time you're going to spend on a cut. So if you gain 5% of an advantage by going from 2 pounds a month to 3 pounds a month on a bulk. Maybe you're gaining a 5% advance. Speculation. You're also taking more time out of the gym to cut. So you're losing the benefits of that. Does that make sense? So the net, is there more potential for muscle gains? Nah, not in the long run. Because the more aggressive you get, the more time you have to spend to cut. So it all evens up. So I want you to cut at a rate that you enjoy from a food intake standpoint. Brenda, how detrimental is eating low carb when it comes to progressing? I don't do the pound the gram of protein per pound of body weight. What I do is I look at the overall macros. What calorie total are you trying to hit for your goals? A bulk, a cut, whatever. The dogs are playing zoomies upstairs if you hear that. I do a little bit more lower carb. I don't find it any issue. I run better than when I have junk carbs. So it's only an issue if it's an issue. Does that make sense? Some people like to turn it into hype. If you're in your workouts and you feel flat, then maybe you need to reconsider how you have your last meal prior to lifting. What it contains, are you getting enough sodium? Sodium is the energy electrolyte. So if you're feeling flat during your workout, then we probably need to adjust something a little bit. That doesn't mean we necessarily need to go for more carbs, but we probably need to make an adjustment. If you need any more help on that, just let me know. Would you agree that adding 5 pounds to the bar each workout for novice? Yeah, absolutely unrealistic. Linear progression, not linear periodization. Linear progression is one of the most idiotic things I think have ever been created in lifting. Now, there are some people that can start with the bar on squats and move to 50 and 55 and 60 and 65 and maybe go all the way up to 200. I don't know. Number one, if you have that potential to go up to 200, you probably should have started at 135 anyway. Same with deadlifts. If you can progress 5 pounds a week and somebody will say, I started with the bar and had 5 pounds a week all the way up to 315. Linear progression works great. No. If you can get up to 315, you probably could have started at 185 and then moved up to 195 without negative. With all it really did was waste your time, in my opinion. On the other hand, if you're more of a late beginner, early intermediate, and you're starting at a reasonable weight, you can't sustain 5 pounds of the bar every week. It's arbitrary. You're better off focusing on pushing max safe reps for at least one set and auto-regulating your progression. Adding weight every week is only sustainable if you start way under. And on things like your presses, you're going to cap out super, super quick. Would you say that overhead pressing in a rack is better than cleaning the barbell? Oh, yeah. I like starting with the bar right here on the first rep, like a few inches below the chin, pressing up. And then when I lower it about here. Absolutely. When you are in a seated position, you can also you're more stable and you can also push more weight in general up to about 10%. I don't really want to clean. I don't want to do a clean before I do presses. If you have to, you have to. Is overhead needed? Oh, yes. What else do you have? You're not going to build big side delts with inclines and lateral raises. Lateral raises have limited progression opportunity. I don't care what any influencer says. You need progressive overload. You're not going to get much past 30s, maybe 35s on your side lateral raises, even after 10 years. You need side delts. You need overhead pressing for big delts. 100,000%. What are the winning lotteries for tonight? Dude, I'm telling you what, if I knew, I mean this respectfully, I wouldn't tell you, but what I would do is collect the cash and then give you a bunch of Massive Iron merch. All right, guys, we got 5 questions left. Get them in now. If not, we'll be hopping off. Would a back, shoulder, chest, arms, leg split work, or we're doing shoulders before chest? That's fine. You just have to have a day of rest between shoulders and chest day. If you want to do chest and shoulders on the same day, I would alternate every other week. Do chest first once, and the first workout, and then shoulders first, and then alternate exercises. Does that make sense? Is there a way I can bodybuild to sculpt my physique to look like? Number one, these are the cream of the crop. They have been able to survive the torture chamber, the grind, and they, like a basketball player, doesn't get tall from being a basketball player, right? The best of the best rise to the top, and usually they have some amazing genetics. We were talking about this on Team Massive. I went to high school with a guy who looked like a bodybuilder, like a bodybuilding champion, natural bodybuilding champion, and he didn't really hardly lift weights. There are some people that are just built out of the womb. If you want to sculpt your physique, you have to use the basic principles we talk about in the Massive Iron world. There's no other way. There's no other way. You certainly want to focus on back and delts, but you don't want to under-focus on chest. You're not going to get, you don't even have to remove work. You just have to do a reasonable amount of work for your back and delts, which is what I teach. If you do that, you're going to be fine. It's not really about that. It's getting crazy strong in the long run on everything. These guys are crazy strong on everything. Is adding 1 rep to a pressing exercise a month the same as adding 1 rep to a squat? In terms of the amount of weight accumulated over the year, or is it different based on, well, mathematically, you're going to get more out of more weight. So a rep increase is going to, from a relative standpoint, a rep increase for something that is stronger to begin with is going to give you a net greater increase. Does that make sense? Nothing we really have to worry about. It's a lot of overthinking, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Is there a way to track progress without counting? Why would you do that? Why? Why would you want to do that? There's no reason not to do that. There's no reason not to look back at next week and say, what did I do? I want to beat that. That's a cornerstone. That has to be a cornerstone. We need to know. I'm not wandering in the gym guessing what I did last week. There's no reason for you to do this. And I mean this respectfully, Mitch. Don't be that guy. Bill, it's my off Friday, so instead of music during my workout, I watch Massive. Hey, that is a recipe for success. Thank you. And Mitch, I'm saying that with respect because I care, with respect and love. Track, know what you did, and come into the gym wanting to beat it. My first upper body workout has close grip bench, barbell rows, Z press, and pull-ups. My second has over, chins, dips, and cable rows. How can I do my pump work? Depends on what kind of pump work you want to do for what body part. Pump work is usually finisher work. So we covered this just a little bit earlier. Close grips, you could drop the weight, or you could hop over to cable tricep extensions and do volume. When you got big compound movements, it's hard to do finishers. Pump work, you're better off moving to different exercises. Does that make sense? Barbell Beauty, thanks for tuning in. Henry, is there a maximum amount of calorie surplus you would have when prioritizing strength gains? Calories work wonders for strength. I went from 308 body weight to 346. And I got strong in a short period of time. I got crazy strong in a short period of time. It nearly almost killed me. So that's the thing. You can go fast with your calories to try to encourage more strength, but you're going to hit the wall sooner. The biggest mistake I made was trying to go too fast. Slow, sustain, play the long game. Johnny, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Angry hippie. Hey, Steve, for someone in their 50s, what is the point of a bulk? Building muscle. Being healthy is fine. I want you to be healthy. But if you if you want more muscle, you have to play the game, and that's bulking. We're not getting you fat on a bulk. We're talking about a 10-pound bulk over 4 to 5 months, doing a quick 10-pound cut and repeating. That's going to help you build more muscle and build more strength. You can't get around that. That's the way it works, right? If you're happy with your muscle mass, then you don't have to gain weight. If you're happy with your strength, you don't have to gain weight. But we don't get anybody unreasonably healthy in the massive iron world. Don't equate bulking to fat bulking. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Big Bill, you thank me, but really thank you for everything you do for us in this community. Thank you. That means a lot. It truly does. Big Joe B, thank you for being a great coach. Thank you, guys. You're going to make me cut onions. I appreciate all the time you take. My pleasure. There's nothing greater than being able to get up and talk lifting from the morning I get up to the morning I go to sleep. And that's literally what I do every day. I get up, the first thing I do is message Team Massive. And then the last thing I do before I go to bed is message Team Massive. And I try to continually go through my clients till I get messages down to a 0. I can't always do that. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We're an hour and a half in. Please come back next Friday, please. I'd love to have you. I'd also love to have you on the Massive Iron Discord. Please go over to my video yesterday and check out the link in the description box. You can join. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're interested in coaching, go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. I got some really good apparel. And I got a couple new questions. Before we dive in, I'm going to show you guys a quick thing. So don't go anywhere. What else you want to do? You want to work? Or want to look at lifting T-shirts? I don't make a lot of money off lifting T-shirts, so I'm not going to pretend I do. So let me go to if you go to my website, hold on, I'll share the screen, and then I'll get to the last questions, okay, so this is my website, superlivingtoday.com. I have an apparel tab, and if you just click the apparel tab and you sort by new to old, I've been adding some things for fun for the Black Friday deals. I got the massive ramen shirt. Okay, just a stupid, silly, massive iron ramen shirt, just some fun apparel for those of you that eat the old ramen. Free protein drink, bulking, not fulking, which is a fat bulk. What else did I add? I added in the massive trucker shirt. I basically took a trucker T-shirt and we put massive iron lifting, just a new design. You got that funky tank collar. And then we just have the regular shirts. You can see that's what it looks like. And then we have, we have the funky yellow, which I love. That's a great looking shirt. I only make like $5 off these, so I'm not trying to be a T-shirt company. This is a Christmas shirt that we're putting out. It is the trend days of Christmas. The trend days of Christmas. 10 protein shakes, 9 deadlifts dropping, 8 veins of popping, 7 spotters spotting, 6 curl bros flexing, 5 golden plates, 4 sets of failure, 3 sets left, 2 something. and a rep PR, whatever. So that's just a normal t-shirt. It's not a female t-shirt specifically. And then we have that in the old tank top. I'm going to get to your questions. And then we have that, for women in a women's cut. This is a funny shirt I put together for Paul. It says Savage, but backwards in the mirror it reflects and says Savage. Just a ton of shirts over in my apparel section. Practice safe sets. That's kind of a silly one. I got the Meathead, which has Eat, low brain capacity. Just some fun shirts. This one I get a kick out of. 75% natty. Right. A little bit of fun shirt. And we just got some stuff like this. Some different styles of the Masic iron. We got the drawstring bag. We got the She-Bulk shirts. We got plus ones. And we got just a ton of stuff. The Massive Iron Smash shirt. Just a ton of stuff over there. So take a look if you need some ideas, some lifting shirts. All right. Since I would tend to go heavier using VersaGrips than I would without, is there anything to be said about? No. It's going to be safer and you're going to be able to build more muscle. We're always training safely, so not at all. What is the easiest strength training program for athletes? My upper posterior is probably a good place to start. You can search upper posterior on my YouTube channel, or you can go to my website, Super Living Today, and search upper posterior. If you need me to build your workout, you can go over to my website, Super Living Today, and search custom. I have a lot of lifters that are clients that are athletes, martial arts, boxing, you name it, runners. So depending on your season of lifting, you need to train 2 or 3 days. You might be training 2 or 3 days a week. That's a really good place to start. I have to grab the Massive Trucker for sure. All right, guys, that is it. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll be back next Friday. Be here. The gains train will just keep rolling along.
It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.